to the Toy Rewind Podcast with your hosts, the Brothers Newland. Now, let's talk toys.
Hello, and I'm Big Newland.
I'm Middle Newland, John.
And I'm Little Newland. And this week, Toy Rewind is doing something a little fun. We are rewinding all the way back to 1984 this week. Let's talk about a few things that happened in 1984. Apple released its 1984 Macintosh commercial. Prince released Purple Rain. Wendy's wondered, where's the beef? And Tetris was released. On top of all of that, Hasbro launched their toy line, the Transformers. We're talking about Transformers this week. It's a huge week for us. We are starting off 2021 way up here, like just as high as we possibly can. So if you've been around for the first 22 episodes, this is episode 23, you'll also hear that we have a new intro. We've been holding on to that for about 2 months. So we're happy that you guys got to hear it. Revamping a lot of things here, and we honestly couldn't think
transforming.
We are transforming into 2021, and we really couldn't think of a better person. We have a special guest this week, which if you saw the cover for the podcast at this point, you probably already know. But we have a special guest, and here to talk with us about Transformers is the Pied Piper of positivity, the king of meats, and the godfather himself of Nerds Unite, Mr. Sully.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. The only non-Newland here today. I really appreciate you guys having me on. And talking about the 80s is definitely my bag. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, luckily we've been in a position that's pretty much, we've talked a little bit about the 70s, but mostly it's been 80s for us. 20-something episodes, and we've got like 100 or so left of different toy lines that we're talking about. So we'll be around for a while. So speaking of that, since we're going to be around, and you probably want to follow us on all those amazing social medias, John, where can people find us?
All right, so Instagram and Twitter at Toy Rewind Pod. You can look us up on Facebook and join in our chats and stuff with our group there, and let us know your experience with the toys or what you remember or anything. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Toy Rewind Pod. We do our Toy Box showcasing on Facebook and Twitch as well. Then you have our podcast bingo, podcastbingo.com/Toy Rewind. Thanks to Andrew for setting that up for us and several other of the Nerds Unite members. You can email us, toyrewindpodcast@gmail.com. We've got our now our YouTube channel where you'll see live, or not, we'll post the lives and stuff there, but you'll also be able to look at our videos of us doing our podcast and everything later on. So, and then of course, check out our website, toyrewindpodcast.com, and look at the merch or anything else, the toy rankings.
Yeah, check out our toy rankings. So we are getting, let's see, we're getting really close to that 6 month mark. And I know Michael's mentioned it before on a couple of other podcasts. We are getting ramped up to do a big 1 year, what is the best toy line that you guys will be able to vote on. And the rankings will come based off of what we've done. And then you'll actually get to vote. We'll find out of a March Madness style bracket, what is the top toy line for everybody. So be sure you check out the website. Lots of fun stuff. So, all right. And moving right along to our fun for all question. This is one we kind of talked about last week. I sprung it on Sully just a few minutes ago, but I felt like he should be fine. He'll enjoy this one. If you could time travel, when and where would you go, and what would your preferred time travel device look like? Sully, we'll start with you, and then run around Michael, John, and then I'll answer.
This is a tough one. There's some really good choices out there, but being a child of the 80s and especially Back to the Future, which, you've got that great poster on the wall behind you there. I definitely got a ride in style with the DeLorean. Picking when to go back to is a real trick. You can't go back too far, or else you're really out of place with that DeLorean. We saw that in Back to the Future 3. So I probably would go back to the early 80s and that would give me an opportunity to save all my Star Wars figures from that garage sale that my mother put them all in. Still haven't forgiven her for that. And buy some stock in Apple and some other companies, get ahead of it, so I could be rich down the road. But hey, maybe I'll cross paths with Marty if I go back to 1985.
Yeah, there you go. Michael, I'm pretty sure yours is pretty close to it. So
mine, yeah, I guess thinking about mine, it is the DeLorean. I would definitely use the DeLorean. But since it's a movie time machine, I would go back in time to basically another movie and meet the cast, meet the people. So I would go back to 1985 and meet the Goonies, the guys from the Goonies. So I would show up right when they go into the old restaurant there and meet up with them and say, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And kind of go along the whole adventure with them. So that would be what I would do. Or kind of like Sully too. I would go back and kind of rescue my old toys and stuff like that. Have all my original ones. But yeah, I like the idea of going back and being part of the Goonies. If I could do that, I think that would be pretty fun.
So while you guys are back there, can you save some of my old toys too?
Certainly.
I mean, just while you're there. So, John, what do you got?
We'll go a few years up.
I really got toys at that time.
I need some turtles. I need my turtles back.
All right,
John, what do you got?
So I'm probably the oddball out of this because you said you can't go too far back, but I want to go even further back. I'm more of the medieval type person, so back to the beginning of the 6th century. Back to the Middle Ages, and of course, kind of looking and thinking about what Sully said too. I can't really just take any time travel machine back there because you'll really stick out. But the time sled from the Time Machine, 1960, based on the 1895 novel by H.G. Wells.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it kind of still has that sled-like look. I can kind of hide it a little bit. There's still going to be stuff that pops off, that sticks out. But, I'm more of the...
Are you taking your Master Sword and your Highland
I will take my shield and my Master Sword with me.
It's not going to last long.
No, it's not going to last long at all. So I do have to say, John, I'm glad you thought about the people seeing it. And what would happen there. So, because I did a lot of thinking about this. There's obviously the TARDIS. There's the Bill and Ted's phone booth.
That was my number 2.
There's the Time Turner from Harry Potter. There's the DeLorean. There's so many out there.
Hot tub.
There's a hot tub. I can't forget about the hot tub. So with the hot tub, I guess you can only go so far back because before the hot tubs were invented. Like, I don't know.
You're also going to need electricity.
Right. You also need electricity. So I went above and beyond. I would go with the Wayback Machine from the Mr. What is it? Mr. Peabody and Sherman from Rocky and Bullwinkle. It has an invisibility, so people wouldn't necessarily be able to find me. They wouldn't be able to see me, and I could basically go back into the past, see anything that happened in the past, and then I would go into the future. Also, not to see how I'm doing or see how anybody else that I know is doing, but to just see like what's happening, and see, how long do we stuck inside and not being able to do anything.
Sure you want that information?
I was going to say that.
It would just be like little things that I think would just be like, just interesting.
While you're up there, pick you up an almanac too.
Yep, there you go.
Hey, give me one of those, a couple Super Bowls, find out, how long these podcast things are going to stick around, see how far we're going to actually make this.
I can guarantee you're going to go to the future and they're going to be podcasts are just about to break. It's about to become a really big thing. And no matter where you go in the future, it's always going to be the same info. It's right on it's going to be big. It's going to be huge.
It's always the same thing. All right. Well, there's that. There's a fun for all question. Just kind of get to know us a little bit, what we would do if we had a time machine, what time machine we would have. So, a lot of the fun. Now, here's the thing. This is Transformers. This is, as I mentioned, a pretty big episode. So we're not going to dilly-dally around anymore. I think I should just say one more time, moving on, and let Michael get right into that history. Sorry, I got to throw back to the Funko cast as much as possible.
Every time. Yeah.
So, Michael, give us that history on how.
So the Transformers actually started out in Japan. So in the early 80s, Takara, which was a successful Japanese toy company back then, produced 2 series of changeable robot toys. You had the Diaclone series and you had the Microman series. With sales starting to decline on those 2, Takara chose to inject a new product into both lines at the beginning of the 80s. The Diaclone line saw an all-new series of action figures called Car Robots. This line offered exotic robots that transform into realistic cars based on real models such as like Datsuns and Lamborghinis and Porsches and stuff like that. The Microman line introduced the new Microman Microchange line, which featured robots that transformed into realistically detailed household objects, such as communication devices. They had some kind of super deformed type tune-looking cars, and there was also some guns and stuff like that as well in this line. On some of those, the car, they gave them some kind of generic names. Like one was MC02 Jaguar, and then there was MC10, which Cassette Man. My favorite was MC20 Microscope, Robo Microscope. So that was the actual name of the toy. And then you had the MC13 Gun Robo P38 Uncle, which was a replica of the gun they used in the Uncle TV show.
Yep.
So in 1983, Hasbro went to the Tokyo Toy Show and saw these lines, and they actually got the license of these 2 lines from Takara and bought them and rebranded and integrated these 2 into one conglomeration, and they called it Transformers because they had the 2 different lines, and Hasbro actually brought the 2 together to put them all in one line. So
smart to keep everything kind of consolidated there.
But the problem with these figures, they needed a story and names and stuff like that to appeal to the U.S. kids, the people from the U.S. Because that wouldn't really hold like those generic names, just like the MC Mini Car Robo. That's what they call them there. But you needed something else to hold the attention of the kids here. So in the winter of '83, Hasbro went to Marvel Comics, and then they handed the reins over to editor-in-chief Jim Shooter at the time to develop a backstory and characters for the Transformers. So Shooter delivered the project to writer-editor Denny O'Neil, who was best known in the 70s for his run at DC Comics on the Green Lantern, Green Arrow comics. As well as at Marvel, he was scripting and editing like Amazing Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Iron Man. However, O'Neil, he just didn't get the idea of what they actually wanted. So they took that and just scrapped the whole thing that he had. His idea was kind of deemed unacceptable. It was kind of like I think we saw it on the Toys That Made Us. They kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
It was good cop, bad cop kind of ideas what he had. So they decided they wanted something different. They wanted good versus evil. So Shooter took it upon himself to draft an 8-page treatment so that whoever he chose to come up with the characters and stuff would have a backstory on that. So he finally went through a couple other guys that kind of turned him down. He finally ended up with Bob Budiansky. He took the job, and he was challenged to have everything done over one weekend. So it was given to him like a Friday, and they said, we got to have this by Monday morning.
Poor man.
And I think it was right around Thanksgiving too, I think is what they said. So,
of course.
But Budiansky came up with all the names, the biographical information, which were the tech specs. He fleshed out all the character traits, their faults, and their mannerisms, and all that over one weekend. So, and there was 28 of them that he did. The only thing they kept from Denny O'Neil's stuff was the name Optimus Prime, and so they kept his name, and then Budiansky just redid everything else. So, but But now with a monumental and epic story to promote, Hasbro had to promote the figures. Hasbro had a hit on their hands, using the same tactics that were used 2 years earlier with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, the smaller line. It was very successful. So they did the same thing with Transformers. They introduced into the American pop culture with the superb cartoon series by Sunbow and Marvel Studios Productions. And then I had an excellent comic book produced through Marvel. And then with all their advertising and everything else to get the toy lines out there and sold. So all that it was so successful. The line was actually exported back into Japan as Cybertrons and Destrons is what they called them there. But this line was so successful here, they kind of quit making the die clones and many the Micro Man lines and just imported them all back into Japan. So
just taking exactly what we've got here is Transformers, pulling them right back in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I mean, we stole what they had, and then they just were like, "Hey, we like that. You did a good job.
Yeah.
Keep it up."
Yeah. So yeah, they really did it's a pretty cool line. I mean, I've got several myself that I've gone back and kind of bought some more. So Transformers was the one of my biggest, most favorite toy lines of the 80s there. So.
Obviously I was a little young in the 80s or the late 80s when these came out. I was just a couple years old when they actually came out, but I'm all right with that. I like the classic stuff. I like to look back. One thing I did learn, I had no idea that Ronald Reagan had a little bit to do with this. The fact that some of his regulations that he pulled off of broadcast TV allowed Hasbro and everybody to be able to move forward with things like this.
To sell toys,
sell the toys with the cartoons.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked about that law, but I didn't realize it was like the president like looking into that and like trying to make sure kids were not, our parents weren't getting in trouble having to buy all these toys for stuff. And so because he pulled this regulation allowing them to sell all these. So thanks Ronald Reagan for keeping my closet full.
Yeah. So, another little tidbit on here, 1985, due to bootlegs that kind of flooded the market in 1985, the Hasbro ended up having to put heat-sensitive rub stickers on them. The little Autobot or Decepticon logo, from then on had, I think it was for 85 to 88, I think it was. They had their emblem were heat sensitive, and they're pretty much black. And then you put heat to it, they would change to a green or blue or color.
Hypercolor.
So so it's hypercolor. So
I guess that helped because you couldn't do it from the package, so you got it. You knew it wasn't. It was legit. Can't have those knockoffs; they're not any fun.
No. So kind of I don't know if you see, but like my Bumblebee here on the top.
Does that have one?
It's got one on there. That's why it's black. But
here,
I don't think they quite.
Yeah, 35 years later, maybe it didn't hold up.
I got one.
Or do you have a knockoff?
It was working earlier, but I don't know which one it was now. But
are you sure it's a legit one, Michael?
It's legit. It's legit.
It's legit.
Right,
we'll let you believe that.
All right. So
what else you have? What else?
It was a red Bumblebee.
That's true. It was a red Bumblebee.
Yeah, that's a red. Yeah, this one's red. Everybody knows Bumblebee in yellow. The toy line actually had two colors. It was red and yellow. Same thing with Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper has a red and yellow one. Everybody knows Bumblebee being yellow and Cliff Jumper being red, but they both had a red and yellow version of them.
Seems like somebody was just lazy.
That was pretty much the only two that had two different color variations on those. So
I got a real good deal on red paint somewhere around 1984. Cost saving idea. I just put a red version on all of them.
There you go. I didn't read. I don't know if you've got this in your thing, but there was some information about a blue. What was it? Blue Streak. Is that right? Yeah. There's a blue version, but he's not real. Like he never actually existed. It's
No, they
something
never
that ended up
produced the blue one. He was
Yeah.
only silver.
Yeah, he was
That's
only
when they-
silver.
That's when they thought they were going to get a good deal on the blue paint, and then somebody came back and said, "Nope, deal's off. We know what you're going to use it for."
Yeah. So yeah, it was something that was in like a pre-magazine before they actually made them, and then with a mock-up or whatever, and then they never made it. So
There's a real one floating around somewhere. I'd like to get my hands on that.
you start to wonder about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
a couple things. 85, year by year. So 85 also, they saw the Dinobots come out, the Omnibots, which were actually mail-aways. My note says a mail away from Cybertron, so that's where you got them from Cybertron. The Insecticons came out, and then also the Constructicons, which was the first combiner set that came out, and I actually had the Constructicons growing up. So, but and they would all combine into one huge robot called Devastator. Was the name of that.
So, Michael, did I miss it? Did you define G1 Generation 1 the years?
Generation 1 was from 84 to 1990.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was defined, just so that we had. I don't know if you said it before or not.
Yeah, because once they got out of that, it was into Beast Wars and stuff like that. So
but it wasn't. Hasbro didn't put them out as Generation 1. They adopted
No,
it.
they adopted
fans.
it.
Fans started calling them Generation 1.
Yeah, they actually had a Generation 2. Hasbro came out with Generation 2, so they retroconned this first series as Generation 1. Yeah. So
like I said, I just want to make sure that was if you said it and I missed it. Sorry.
Yeah. One thing Hasbro did when they were over at the Tokyo Toy Con, they saw all these other companies as well it was a big thing in Japan was these transforming toys. So they went and then they saw some others that did the same thing. So in 85, they had Omega Supreme. They brought them over. Then 86, Skylinks was another one. Neither one of those were actually Takara molds. Those were licensed from Toy Box, is the name of that Japanese company. And the something I wrote down, Omega Supreme's original name was Super Change Robo Mechabot 1. Mechabot 1. So they for some reason these Japanese companies they just have such technical names for these things. When we talked about the Voltron. We talked about all the Voltrons that were all their technical names they had for it's like Go Lion is one was the main one that we saw, but they all have those big long names. So
which I can't pronounce half of that. So
so
I'm glad Voltron was a lot easier to say.
Yeah. Let's see, Jetfire, and then came out in 85 as well, and then the triple changers, Astro Train and Blitzwing also came out. Astro Train was a Decepticon that was a train, and he transformed into a space shuttle, and then he changed into this robot mode. Blitzwing was the same thing. He was trying to think of what his, I got it wrote down over here. He was a plane robot, and hold on.
You already lost your spot in your notes, Michael?
Yeah, I've actually got a whole book here that's got all the information.
Yeah, that's why you're
novelization of this podcast coming soon to Amazon.com.
Right. Okay, so Blitzwing was an army tank, a jet fighter, and a arm.
I was actually going to say tank because of Blitz.
Yeah, army tank. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So for some reason, I just lost it.
Should have said it.
But yeah, that's a couple other things that came out in 85. So then 86 saw new characters actually come from the movie.
I was about to say.
So when we get to talk about the movie,
we got to talk about the movie.
So you had a bunch of new characters from that movie. They were actually based on imagined vehicles from the future, since the movie at that time was set in the future. They were more Cybertronian, I can say that right, and stuff like that. They saw the introduction of more combiners. You had the Aerobots, the Protectobots, the Stunticons, the Combaticons, the Superior, and the Predacons. So the Aerobots, when you combine them, they were Superion. The Protectobots were Defensor, and then the Stunticons formed to be Mensor, and then the Combaticons were Bruticus was the name of that one, and the Predacons was Predaking was the big one on that one.
Almost every single one of those is 3 syllables. That's pretty interesting. That seemed to be their sweet spot. It can end in con or tron, but you got to get 3 syllables in there.
Yeah, you got the Autobots all end with bots,
Or
and then your Decepticons were all either like Sor or cons. So I don't know where Bruticus it didn't fit in there, but that's the Combaticons, which were Decepticons as well. So
it just makes it easier to know who's who when you have new people come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
In 86 also, that's when they started doing more of the original molds and got away from the others from Japan. So
yeah, they were doing more in the U.S. coming up with stuff than bringing it in from Takara. So they kind of separated themselves a little bit from Takara at that time too.
That's also where the comic book and the cartoon deviated. If I remember what I was reading about it,
I think
one of them went
the
future. The other one stayed present. I just don't remember which one was which.
Yeah, and really, if you start at the beginning with the comic and the cartoon, they really didn't have the same storylines. They kind of went off on their own. But you talk about the cartoon at that time skipped up to the future, and I think the comic book stayed in the 80s at that time. So that
sounds like
time frame. Yeah,
that sounds like every other comic book franchise out there. If you read the comic book, it's real. The movie's not.
Yeah,
it's always some kind of deviation. I'm looking at you, MCU.
Yeah, I knew you were headed there.
So 1987, we'll go ahead to 1987, saw the introduction of Headmasters and Target Masters. The Headmasters were, you had a Transformer and you had a little guy that comes with them. And the little guy would actually transform to become the head of the Transformer when he becomes his robot mode.
Yeah.
The Target Masters was the same thing, but the little guy would become the weapon for the Transformer, for the robot mode. They had a couple more combiners. The Technobots formed to become Computron, and then you had the Terrorcons, which were kind of scary monster-looking things. They formed to become the Abominus. Let's see, there was some Autobot or the Transformer decoys. These were just little rubber, kind of like things we talked about with the
muscle, like this.
We did with the McDonald's stuff at the beginning of McDonald's when they had that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, they had the Throttlebots actually replaced the Autobot mini cars, which were like Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper and all them. They were actually replaced with these Throttlebots, which actually had little pullback motors in them. So they would kind of pop up, and the base of it would still be car mode, and you just pull it back, and they would zoom forward.
I remember that.
So yeah. So it's not really complete transforming, but it
works.
But it works, yeah. So, where's that? There was another one called Fortress Maximus, which was actually a lot of people's holy grail. Came out in 87. It was actually 2 feet tall. This thing was
tall. It was big.
Yeah, it was a huge thing. One other thing for 87 had the clones. They were nearly identical, but they transformed into completely different kind of vehicles than what the original would. So they would look like the original one when they're in robot mode, but they would transform into something different in their vehicle mode. So also there was a 6 changer called 6 Shot. He changed into 6 different things. Now you got to think how smart these people had to be when they came up with these to figure out, hey, we'll transform it to this, then it'll move into this, and there's no way you could. I could think of how to
as
do
a kid,
that.
I was struggling to make him transform once most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
How many I almost broke trying to get him to bend the wrong way.
Oh no! I'd say a few years ago, my middle boy got a Grimlock got 2 Grimlocks for his birthday. He got the easy Grimlock, which you separate the tail and you spin it, and he transforms. And I was like, "Oh, this is easy." Then he got another one that was like the original way that you had to like move everything. Yeah, I don't think we ever actually right. Like,
Oh my God!
it's me as an adult trying to figure out. I'm like, how are you supposed to do this? You're 6.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like to be able to transform into 6 different things. I know there's Lego packs that you can buy that are like 3 different things, and those are different blocks that you could just make 3 different things with. Like that amazes me, much less to have one toy that depending on which way. Yeah, no,
That stuff's created by AI. Has to be.
Yeah. There's just no way.
Yeah, 6 Shot actually had he had a tank mode, starfighter mode. He had a gun mode or laser pistol. That's what they called it. The robot mode. There was an armored car mode and a wolf mode. Is what this thing changed into. So,
wolf.
So many different things, and all of a sudden he's got a link mode where he's a wolf.
Yeah. So like, because we have these pieces, make it work. Somebody make an animal out of this crap.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Please, somebody animal this thing.
Yeah, we need another animal. There we go.
We have 5. We can squeeze the 6th one out if you try real hard. You have the weekend over Thanksgiving. Get back to us.
How hard did the team look at that guy when he goes, I think we could do 7?
You're fired. You're out of here, bud.
No
6 that's the max we go.
Everybody slams their head down. No. Oh, yeah.
Leave something on tap for 88, bro. Just calm down.
That's right.
So 88, it was kind of a precursor of things to come much later in the history of the Transformers. They kind of moved away solely to techno-organic characters from that to bioorganic beings in the form of the Predators line. They also came out with more headmasters and target masters. They were scaled down a little bit to be a little smaller. They also had power masters, which were pretty much the same as headmasters and target masters, but the little guy that came with them actually transformed into like an engine part for the Transformer when he turns into his alternate vehicle mode. This was the same year that they discontinued the heat sensitive rub signs as well. So it went from 85 to 88. So
heat sensitive wasn't the thing, and it wasn't like top of the line anymore.
No, it was already faded out by then.
They're like, we're done with that.
Nice choice of words.
I think by then they turned into, it was to anti-theft type things on like that, is more hologram type things is what they turned into.
Yeah.
I remember that with collecting baseball cards. Upper Deck came out,
Upper Deck,
and had those holograms in the card, so you actually knew it was actually weird. And what was cool, I enjoyed getting the ones that had the like 2 or 3 holograms in the middle of the card because they misprinted it. So I thought those were always cool. So,
back when those things were worth a lot more, and now they're totally worthless.
Now they're a penny a piece now.
Production run error, bud.
Yeah, you got a lot of pennies in your closet back there, don't you, Michael?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I got a lot of pennies back there.
You too, huh?
Yeah, me too. So they also came out with the Spark Bots, which were actually, they had a little wheel that when you rolled it, whatever, it would shoot sparks out behind the Autobot or the Transformer. Yeah. They had Decepticons as well. They had
safe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Also known as the natural gas detection line. That's not 3 syllables though. It would have to be Naturobot or something.
Yeah, there you
go. They also had Trigger Bots, which was just you would hit a little trigger and the thing, it would pop up, it would transform on its own. There were Firecons as well. Let's see what.
So from sparks to fire, that makes sense.
Yeah, they went from sparks to fire. The Firecons were, and all these were kind of lower price points for Transformers because they were trying to get a little bit cheaper. See, they were. I'm trying to remember what Spark ones were, but then you had. I think it's just the same as Sparkbots, but they were Decepticons, is what it was. So Sparkbots were the ones with sparks under it, and then the Firecons did the same thing for Decepticons. So that's what that was.
Both two syllables, never took off.
Yeah.
Didn't make it out of 88.
The Seacons, which were Decepticons as well, but they're all kind of fish-looking critters. You know, they go, like I said, this is the year that they started doing the bioorganic type
Grasping straws era.
And until you said fish, I was literally thinking like the letter C. Seacons. They're just trying to make things shorter for the 90s. They're getting ready.
No, they had their guys were Nautilator and Overbite, which was a shark-looking thing.
Was there Nessie?
Sea Wing? No Nessie. Then it was Scalor, which was like a piranha-looking fish.
See, piranha's 3 syllables. Why didn't they go there? Octocons.
They've got Tentakill.
There you go.
Which is like an octopus-looking one. And then they have Snap Trap, which is like a snapping turtle. So,
Trap. They broke the mold. What the?
Yeah, but those Seacons, that's another combiner one. So they all performed. Piranhacon was the name of that combiner's name.
There we go.
So
that's a winner.
Yeah. Let's see. There was a couple more this year for your 6 changers. There's 2 more 6 changers. So I think 1 was enough. They needed 2 more. Or actually, no, there was 1 more. Sorry, there was 1 more.
There's 1 more.
So his name was
okay.
Yeah, his name was Quick Switch. Was his name?
Ironically, took about a half hour to turn to each one of the 6 modes.
Yeah.
Let's
see. Also, there's more cassettes that year. Throughout the years, they kept putting out cassettes for Blaster and for
Soundwave.
Soundwave, yeah.
Because they're badass.
Yeah. I mean, those you gotta say something that just those are pretty cool. I like those.
I love the cassettes, man. That was awesome. There was nothing more 80s than a robot that turns into a cassette player.
Right.
Because in the 90s, what were they going to do? A Discman? It wasn't. These credit card thin things are going to turn into a wolf on their 6th change. Get these.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That disc is the stick.
Yeah.
Going back to Quick Switch real quick. You know, he had a laser pistol mode, a hovercraft mode, fighter jet mode, a tank mode, robot mode, and a flying puma mode.
Thought you were gonna say wolf.
No, it's a puma this time.
Wait,
so
but it was a flying puma.
Yeah,
it was a flying puma. That's what it was.
The well-known flying puma.
All right. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But,
okay.
Yeah, Quick Switch was the Autobot, and 6-Shot was the Decepticon. So,
okay, makes sense. Makes complete sense.
Yep. They also had Double Dealer, which was a Decepticon mercenary.
This is a G-rated podcast. We're not talking about dealers here.
This is like Vegas.
Oh, the Vegas. Okay, those dealers.
Yeah, it's fine. Actually, gambling, okay. Drugs, not so much.
Yeah, there
actually, Double Dealer is a mercenary. He can actually be either Autobot or Decepticon.
That's why his name doesn't end with con or bot.
Yeah,
whichever one's double agent, double dealer.
So he can go either way, and it just depends on what his mode is. So he also has Power Master engines with him. One guy, when he uses him, he's Autobot, and when he uses the other Power Master figure, he's a Decepticon. So it just depends on what mode what mood he's in, I guess. So
interesting.
Let's see what else we got. 1989. We'll move on to 89. They brought out some more. They brought out 21 more Pretenders.
Cool.
Like I said, those are the little small the little cheap
What?
plastic looking ones.
Oh, those are the little cheap plastic ones. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the little rubber ones.
I was
Makes
about to
sense why
say
there's so many.
21. Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. But
Now,
They had Decepticon monsters, and all they changed into Monstructor was the name of that combiner when you put them all together. Monstructor.
were you going to say something, John?
yeah. Also, '89 is when they came out with the new logo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of updated the logo then too. Yeah. Let's see. They had the Pretender class characters came out. Trying to remember what that was off the top of my head. You had the Pretenders were scaled down, modified. They had let's see. They actually had an outer shell that looked like a person or a human, and that shell would open up, and you had your transformer inside. So that's what your Pretenders were.
So it's pretending to be a human.
So yeah, you're pretending to be human or whatever. They have one here. It's called. His name is Doubleheader. He's actually his outer shell mode. Actually, it was a guy that had two heads. So I don't know how human that actually looked.
I thought for sure you were going to say a baseball player.
Yeah,
None of them.
That was their chance to do like Ken Griffey Jr. crossover line where Ken Griffey Jr. was actually a transformer, double header. It's right there. Why didn't they hire me when I was 8?
I think the most normal one for human form was is it Stranglehold?
A wrestler. See? Look, this is also easy.
there you go.
Yeah. That could have been Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Easy.
There you go.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
had, I think Pincher was good. He was like a scorpion. His transformer would turn into a scorpion. But when he's inside, the robot mode is inside this Pretender shell. It's just some guy that looks kind of like Centurion with the Centurion's suit that we talked about our first episode.
The tail coming out of his top of the head. So
so that one. Then they had Pretender Classics, which was you had Grimlock and Bumblebee, Jazz, all them. They were inside. Like I said, they're inside this bio-looking person-looking thing, and then you open the shell. They were there, and then they could transform into whatever. So they're kind of like hiding when in plain sight is what they're trying to do.
I like that 6 years after originally starting this, I went back to the well with classics. It only took 6 years.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been saying Funko should do that for a while, and they should make classic series where every line has the OG superhero.
I
logos
love the
on
OG.
the top.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my
Let's make
favorite.
one out of every wave. That's all I'm asking for.
There you go. And it can
Call
be
them
the
pop
classic.
classics. Yep.
Brian's probably listening to this, so maybe he'll hear that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Also, hire me back while you're at it. I'll give you that one for free.
There we go.
Let's see. The Mega Pretenders were the same thing, but their outer shells would transform into something as well too.
Okay.
So the Pretenders just had the shell. They open up the robot mode would come out and transform. The Mega Pretenders, the shell would also transform into something. So you had two different figures pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were just saying just the shell transformer. I was like, what's that different? But okay, I got both of them.
Yeah.
Got it.
Then you had your Ultra Pretenders, which they both transformed, and then you can actually put them together. So to make one vehicle with both of them. So you can have
Double
your
with two back kind of situation.
That's
So
that's where they started, and then they went backwards with that to make more toys to spend to get more money.
Yeah.
We
At that
figured
point,
this out.
they were praying to bring something back in. It was the signs were there. It was headed down.
Oh yeah, no. We are getting to the end of G1. I'm starting to completely
Yeah,
understand
you can
why.
you can start seeing where they're grasping for ideas.
Yeah.
To come up with stuff to keep the line going. By this time already, it's in Japan. It's already waning. It's already kind of going downhill. But the U.S. toy lines, the U.S. companies, they want to keep things going. And sometimes they just stretch it out too long.
So Michael, like you said, Japan was waning, but did you read about Europe, the other side? It actually survived the Generation 1 line survived a lot longer there than it did here in America.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went like another couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think David Hasselhoff had to have something to do with that.
probably. I mean, why not?
Part of the Pretenders line that did succeed.
There you go.
Let's see. The MicroMasters were also come out in '89. Those actually, we talked about this a little bit. We touched on this in our Micro Machine line. So the MicroMasters were scaled down Transformers that still actually transformed. So they're the little bitty things, but they would still transform into what they originally were.
I think I had a few of those because I loved Micro Machines. I had a ton of those, and I think I was like, "Ooh, the best of both worlds," but I didn't get many.
I mean, it's really amazing to me that they really started to die down this way because, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, you're in the late '80s here, which we kind of briefly talked about in our Happy Meal episode, where they've got the changeables that come out. Mm-hmm. So you've got a lot of Transformer stuff going on, and they just went full-fledged throwing everything at us. So that was their problem. Had they not done that, maybe they would have survived longer in America.
Well, another thing, we see a lot of this in the lines that come out in early '80s. By the mid to late '80s, they start dwindling because I think a lot of it has to do with video games as well. Becoming popular at that time. You get the NES system coming in, the Super Nintendo coming in as well, right after the '85 to '90 year range there. You see all that stuff start coming in, more of the video games and stuff too, kind of taken away from these toy lines.
That's an interesting thought. I had never put that together like that.
Yeah, that's something else that kind of hurts some of these.
Now, if they had made a early Transformers game, I don't remember there being one, but if they had made one, maybe that would have helped.
John, did you see anything about a game? Usually you're the one that picks up on those for some reason.
I didn't, but I'll Google it.
John's going to Google it.
He's going to Google it. That's on the Dorksman bingo card, not ours.
Oh, we don't have that on there?
Although maybe we need a mention. Maybe on our bingo card, we need a Dorksman mention.
Yeah.
They seem to get mentioned all the time. So,
yeah.
Here's a list of Transformers video games by year. In 1985, on the Commodore 64, there was a game simply called the Transformers. And then the first one on actual console that everyone could own wasn't until the PlayStation 2 in 2003.
Oh, wow.
They waited way too long.
Yeah.
All the others were basically on glorified PCs that were also gaming platforms.
Wait, you said that was 2003?
Yeah, it was called Transformers again, and it was PlayStation 2, a Japan exclusive game. So they didn't even do that right.
Didn't even US.
So I guess that game came out with alignment of that other 3-syllable thing that kind of tore them down too, Michael Bay. So, sorry. I digress with that one, but
more on that at 9:00.
Yeah, it looks like there's only two, one in '85, one in '86, both of them on the Commodore, were the only ones released in US. All the others, the other 86, 87, and then the 2003 were all Japan exclusives.
We should talk about the Commodore 64 more.
They didn't try again until 2008.
Right.
Wow. That had to truly be aligned with the Michael Bay films.
Yeah, 2008 because the first movie came out in 2007. So
that's exactly what it was. Yep. Yeah. Because it came out on mobile iOS at that point, which makes sense. That was definitely a marketing ploy by all films at the time.
Yeah. So, after that, let's go to 1990. This is the last year of the G1. You had your MicroMasters. They continued through this year. And also something that they added to the MicroMasters was combiners as well. So they had some of those small little bitty Micro Machine size Transformers that combined into their own combiner. You had the last thing that they've actually put out called Action Masters. A lot of purists don't really consider these as G1 because they actually could not transform. But they were fully posable. They had their own little Target Master weapon, which was the little guy. I think they're called Nebulon. I don't think I mentioned that. Okay. Nebulon people that they would transform into their weapons or heads or engines throughout those others. But these had the Target Master weapons, and they were actually manufactured in exact scale of one another. So you wouldn't have the little bitty ones, and then you had a big Optimus Prime. They were kind of that's about the way they're supposed to be in real life. So, but that was pretty much the last thing that they put out for this G1. Like I said, they couldn't transform into the vehicles modes, but they were highly fully posable, however you want to do it, like an action figure.
I mean, it's 1990. They better be fully posable.
Yeah.
Everybody else is doing everything. If it won't transform, it's got to do something.
But it's still called Transformers. You can't do that.
Yeah, I still gotta, and that's why a lot of people don't really recognize these as.
I mean, do they recognize them as Transformers? Because they're not.
Yeah. It's on the package.
It's
Transformers is the bigger word.
there, yeah.
And then Action Masters is half that font size right below it.
Yeah.
The packaging is actually pretty cool. This would have got my attention had I been out toy shopping in 1990, but I wasn't. I was working.
Yeah, it's got pretty cool looking packages to it. Yeah, it'll actually get your attention.
Yeah.
Okay, so we skipped over. We kind of mentioned it, but we skipped over. We need to go back and talk about the movie for a minute. And we're talking about the 1986 movie, not the Michael Bay films. I don't want to talk about the Michael Bay films. I enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed the first one, and I thought they went too far from that. But I'll let you and your brother Sully talk about that.
Yeah.
At some other point.
So, I like that. Movie retakes.
I enjoyed all those movies that came out. I was entertained by them. I know the storytelling and stuff like that wasn't exactly the way the Marvel comics or the cartoon series went. They pulled some things from there, like the power sources and stuff. Trying to bring Cybertron to the Earth. If you look through the cartoon, you pick up a lot of that stuff. I'm actually in the middle of season 3 watching all those cartoons. So I've watched season 1 and season 2, which were a lot of shows. And then the movie comes in after season 2, and then season 3 picks up right after the movie. But you see a lot of stuff that was drawn into those movies. But as far as the storytelling and stuff, I guess I was entertained by all the action. Michael Bay's big for action and stuff. But the movies actually entertained me, and I enjoyed it doing that. But you can actually pick it out and make it, like everybody else does, like Star Wars and
my biggest problem with the movies, every time they wanted to come out with a new one, they changed the past as to how that happened. Had it been a cohesive line or whatever, a cohesive line about things, I would have enjoyed them better. Even those things, after hearing you talk about all the crazy things that they did in the 80s, I understand where Michael Bay came up with a bunch of these ideas. He was pulling things. So had it been cohesive, I would have maybe enjoyed them more. I just didn't like the fact that they kept changing things. The first one I thought was really good. It was really nice to see them. I had high hopes, but I digress. Let's go back to 86. Let's talk about that. Because like you mentioned, you talked about the cartoon. We've talked about the cartoons with Masters of the Universe, with Thundercats or Silverhawks, how these things didn't really hold up. What is your thoughts about the cartoon real quick with Transformers, Michael?
It holds up. It's probably one of the better cartoons from the 80s, I think, that still holds up from the 80s. You watch your He-Man, and it's kind of silly, a little bit. G.I. Joe was the same way. I couldn't really go back and watch that. But watching the trend, to me, going back and watching the trans, like I said, I've watched all episode 1, season 1, season 2, and the movie, and I'm halfway through season 3 right now. Out of the four seasons they had, and they hold up to me. They do, yeah.
It's interesting to say that hear you say that they hold up, because that's something I've been wanting to rewatch the series and the movie for many years, but I keep myself from doing it because I'm afraid it's like I just rewatched Dark Crystal, and not for me. I had such fond memories of it, and I'm afraid that if I watch it, it may taint my memories of everything Transformers were.
But I actually made it all the way through the first episode before we came on. So if you can actually make it through them, usually I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm walking off.
Yeah.
But
the first 3 episodes all combined to make like a mini movie.
A
It's
mini
kind of
one,
what
yeah.
it's introduction and all that. So
I haven't watched the cartoon since watching them way back as reruns, but I've seen the movie twice in the last 14 years, and I know the movie holds up for me. I assume the cartoon would too because it's very close.
Mhm.
So here's the other question, John. Do you remember watching the movie the first time?
I don't.
Okay,
remember
Michael,
watching it.
Sully, how hard did you cry the first time you watched the movie?
Go ahead. So I'll let you talk first.
I don't recall, to be honest with you. I have so many memories from the 80s about certain things, and I have very fond memories of Transformers, but I don't remember how I responded to that movie for some reason. Maybe I've hidden that away deep, and I'll deal with it in my upcoming therapy sessions. But so far, I don't recall anything.
You haven't got to 86 in your therapy sessions yet?
No, we're still back to the Star Wars figures. That's going to take a couple 3 years.
That'll take a
to
while to
get
get
through
over that.
effectively, I think.
Right.
Me, as huge of a Transformer fan as I was growing up, and still am, I never saw the movie up until a couple months ago when I actually watched it. So I'd never, but hearing about it, I knew what happened in it. So when I sat there and watched it for the first time, it was about a month and a half ago. I watched it back in November.
You're saying I
knew what
saw
it
this movie before you?
You did, yeah.
Okay.
I never actually. I finally sat down. I said I need to watch it, and I actually bought it a couple years ago. I've had it sitting in there for 2 years before I even actually watched it. But I wanted to get through. I wanted to watch series one and series 2, and then sit down and do watch it in order. And I knew what was happening. And if I would have watched it back then, I definitely would have cried about what happened and everything. It would have been devastating. Like Devastator got a hold of me or something, but
I kind of felt like you were going to go there.
Yeah. And then, but I was just actually watching it after hearing what happened. Actually watching it, yeah, it was sad. I didn't cry like I probably would have if I would have seen it back then, but yeah, it was very, very sad.
I mean, the whole movie it's much heavier than what you would think of a movie after a cartoon geared at kids that are 7 to 12.
Yeah,
it's a lot heavier than that. So,
but it's honestly pretty ahead of its time. If you think about, like, I was just watching something earlier today, and it's something I knew, but reminded me in the success of the rated R superhero films that have come out over the last few years. They are darker and heavier. There's blood and guts, and it's the kids who grew up with it all now watching them as adults. Well, that was a smaller time frame, but still you were getting older by the time that movie came out if you were a collector and had been since the beginning. So you were ready for something a little more mature, and that kind of fed into that. But unfortunately, there was no follow-up. They went back to I don't think the series was as heavy when it went back to the cartoons, and we didn't get any sequels or a full universe until Michael Bay got his hands in the mix.
Yeah. And just when you go back from the movie, and season 3 starts right at the end of the movie, it's not as dark and like I said, it's not as dark and as serious as the movie was. But it carries on the storyline from that. So I think the biggest thing, I knew, spoiler alert, Optimus Prime gets killed in the movie. Yeah.
What?
I'm sure.
That's it. I'm out of here.
There's been plenty of years. But they actually killed off most of the first the Autobots from 84 line.
And they do that so they can sell more toys
and all that, and they come up with the new stuff from 85 and 86 lines. They had to sell more of those, so they had to do something to get rid of the first releases of those. Yeah,
they should have started the classics then and not have waited till 1980.
Right.
Yeah.
1990.
1990. Yeah.
All right.
So it was. Yeah.
All right. So lots of stuff with pop culture that we talk about this. I mean, there are always the amazing movie that was in the 80s, and then new stuff that Michael Bay did. I do know that they're supposed to be doing more. I read something today because my phone knows that I've been looking at Transformers stuff all week. I get all the crazy headlines about it. But apparently Paramount doesn't want Michael Bay to be involved in the new ones.
See, when they made, I don't know if you saw the Bumblebee movie, when they made Bumblebee, I really enjoyed that one. And if they can carry on starting there and make a whole new timeline with that, I think it would be good. Yeah.
There was a rumor right around that time. I remember talking about it with Steve when we were doing Nerd Foo, that they had hired Robert Kirkman from The Walking Dead and a whole other cast of writers to sit down and map out a brand new Transformers universe, but doing it in advance of the film so they could go ahead and put it out there and make this universe. And unfortunately, I don't think anything ever came of it, but who knows what's laying on the floor at the offices that they can pull up and do something with.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll do something, because this is an amazing line. Like, you've got the toys, you've got the cartoon, everything about it is just amazing. With today's technology, like, Michael Bay, as far as the movies, my only issue was the continuity, the way it worked, but whatever. Amazing movies if you just want to watch an action movie. So, all right, let's talk about the prices. And if you're a collector, what you could get some of these toys for, these days off of a good old eBay. So most of the ones that I looked up, kind of mint condition kind of stuff. And I just did a couple just looking at them. This one is a G1 Megatron, original 1984, mint condition, in the box, complete, sold for $1,200. Dang. So, like I said, these are all mint. If you want to keep it, if you're an in the box collector, this picture is pretty cool. It is him in gun mode on the box.
And by the way, that is the Micro Man Line M13 Gun Robo P38 Uncle. That's yes. Megatron.
Yeah.
So I don't think I said that.
Before you go further, I'm going to interject with a story here, if I may. I have a lot of memories of Transformers for sure, but my earliest memory really was, it must have been 84 or 85. My birthday's a month before Christmas, and my parents would always give me, here's $100. We'll take you to Toys R Us and you can get whatever you want. Right. So it was my choice. And so they took me, but my mom couldn't go for some reason that time. So my dad took me, and thank God he did, because mom was adamantly against handguns and weapons of any kind. I was not allowed near that stuff. I couldn't see that stuff. I couldn't watch it on television. And what do I pick out? That exact Megatron. I remember going up. I can visualize the exact shelf in the store where I went and picked it up, and my face must have been the most glorious thing of all time. Like I heard angels singing. And show it to my dad, and he's like, "Whatever, let's go. I'll have a cigarette while after we get out of here." And went out, got home, and I was playing with it before she noticed. And it was on. I caused a major fight in the house for that one. But that is my fondest memory of getting a Transformer.
And it was also one that at that time they didn't have to have like the orange caps on the end of the coat.
No. Black and silver with a scope on top.
With a scope on top.
Yeah, it was. You didn't know when you saw it from a distance it was a gun.
Yeah.
So I do have to confess, up until this week when I started doing more research on this, I always thought it was a Walter P38. Didn't realize it was Walter until I started looking into it. So I learned something more this week besides just this. So that one mint in the box, everything there. You're looking at $1,200. I'm looking at this one out of the box. You can't even tell what's all here. It is literally just the gun. I assume Transformers. There's only one picture with it. Sold for $100. So there's a big difference between in the box mint and out of the box. So I looked at Optimus because obviously Optimus. You're kind of in the same situation. Out of the box, $100, and then in the box, this was 100% complete Generation 1 Transformer 1984 Optimus Prime, $325. So there's a big difference between this one, and it could be the fact that Megatron turns into that gun, because you can't get that kind of stuff anymore. So there is another Optimus that I looked up, and this is, I'm kind of toying with the idea of like talking about this because it's going to come up later, but we'll talk about it anyways. This is the Pepsi Optimus Prime. This was a mail-in thing that Pepsi did with him, and basically they took the stripe on the back of his trailer and put Pepsi logos on it, because we all know Optimus Prime drinks Pepsi and not Coca-Cola, and why I have an issue with them. Mint in the box, perfect original. You're looking at $1,400.
Dang, that's cool.
Here's another one out of the box, $250. So there's a huge difference between mint and not mint. And we haven't really seen any that are this way or this big of a difference since we started doing this. We've seen some decent differences, but going anywhere from thousands of dollars just to $100. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've never seen that before. That's cool.
My Optimus Prime. I got right here.
Michael's got one. He's showing us.
Yeah. I think I paid about $75 to $80 for it. It is missing a couple of. It's missing the hands and the what's this little car in the back. I'm missing that, and the radar part is what I'm missing on it. And I paid 70. I think about 75 shipped for it. So yeah.
I mean, hey, still some beautiful stuff here. I would totally, hold on, I got to stop sharing this and get ready to sell them. Awesome stuff to me. We should. I want to try to get more. So
yeah, the little car in the back is called Roller. That's his name, Roller.
Roller. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, Roller.
So we do have our Toy Truths game. Before we get into that, we're going to do our toy rankings. We've got to figure out where it lines up for all of us, and I got to fix this. Thank you. So Sully, real quick. We rank ours in the top 10, and then we've recently started to keep up with more than just the top 10, but really it's just the top 10 that we kind of talk about. Where does this line? You had a great story about picking up that Megatron. Where does this rank for you in your toys?
Wait, first of all, where do GoBots fall on this list? It better be dead last because those are the worst toys ever made.
We haven't talked about GoBots yet. We've not talked about GoBots yet.
Good. Well, have me back on with that one. I'll give you some good rants. No, honestly, for me, the ones that stand out, and I talk about them a lot, are Star Wars and Masters of the Universe. That's way up there for me. I also have a soft spot in my heart, not a spart, for Micro Machines, real Ghostbusters, and Lego. But I would say Transformers probably fall number 3 behind Star Wars and Masters of the Universe. I mean, those 3 things were the biggest part of my childhood. Those are the things I'll always go back to.
I'm going to write that down, and when we do GoBots and have you back on, I'm going to make sure that still matches up.
You're going to need a buzzer for all the cursing, but go, whatever you want to do, man.
All right. So Michael, where does this fall for? I think I know where it falls for you, but
this one actually is number 1 for me.
That's what I thought.
Number
and
1.
I believe, because I mentioned this last week when we talked about the board games. Board games now falls out of your top 10.
Yeah.
Even though you just added it last week at number 10. Yeah. So number 1 for Michael. John.
Number 1 for me. It beats out Star Wars.
Where do you have it?
This would go number 4 for me.
Number 4. That's not pretty bad. Let's see. Oh, we have
a very different list other than the Micro Machines.
You're knocking Legos down, John. So we're gonna have to talk.
That
obviously, and you're knocking the James Bond toys out of your top 10. So, all right, for me, this is easy number 6 for me. I'm knocking Nerf down, and then knocking Star Wars actually falls out of my top 10. But as we talked about this, I came in at the last part of Star Wars, and by the time I was old enough to actually play with toys and not just chew on them, like Star Wars had already fallen through. So Star Wars completely gets ranked. Yeah, Star Wars gets ranked for me out of just nostalgia. Like, I don't remember playing with them at all. So this goes number 6 for me. Yeah. So, all right, there we go. We have done our toy rankings. So you did not get a bingo on that this week. I have a tendency, Sully, to forget about that sometimes. And now we are going to go into our toy truths. If you are watching us on YouTube, because we're now posting our videos on YouTube, you'll see we have a new little game board here, and this is gonna change over the next few weeks. Kind of mold as to how it wants to work for us. We are starting off our points back at zeros, and the way that everything will work is you will now win the episode. So if you walk out of here with the most points, you win the episode. So all guests will get to accumulate all of their scores all together at the end of the year. Michael, you get all your on your own, and John, you get to be on your own too, but that's fine. And then I'm going to actually get points this time. If you guys don't get it, I get a point. So it kind of helps out. So I can maybe win at the end of the year if you guys, who knows?
All right, John, make sure we answer all the questions, me and you.
Hey, we're lucky he's only giving himself 1 point.
Only 1 point.
All 3 of y'all miss. Guess what? I'm getting 3.
Only two of you can guess because there's only three. This is still basically two truths and a lie.
But if there's only 4 rounds, if he wins every point, if Andrew does, that means he made it too tough, and he should negate all his points.
Yeah.
Once you get into this, Sully, you'll realize it's only somewhat kind of difficult sometimes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So
it's trying to help y'all out.
It's all about thinking, and if you really paid attention during the podcast, a lot of the questions get answered because I'm pulling from the same place Michael does.
All
so. Also, we're going to continue with the way where if you buzz in first, you get a point. Or no, sorry, if you buzz in first and you get it correct, you get 2 points. If you do not get it correct and you're the second person, then you get a point, and the person who buzzed in first loses a point.
Ooh.
So there is some negativeness if you don't get it right and you buzz in first. So
Nate points coming up.
What?
I said negative Nate points coming up.
That's right. Negative Nate points coming up. You cannot buzz in until all of them have been read. And Sully, for you buzzing in, it's just in the private chat in StreamYard over there. So
okay,
private chat. I always put this in, and it's basically the first person that puts something in. I don't care what you buzz in with.
Gotcha.
All right. So everybody understand? Everybody ready?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Round 1. This is episode 23. Round 1. Statement A. Generation 1 and Generation 2 toys could be combined to create a larger Transformers base. Statement number B. Certain Megatron figures are illegal to import into Australia due to his resemblance to a Walther P-38. And statement number C. One issue of Transformer comic book had the Transformers teaming up with Spider-Man to save a fellow Autobot. And Sully rang in first.
I'm going to go with A as the false statement.
Let's see. A is the false statement. You're right. Sully gets a point. Yay. Oh, no, sorry. Sully gets 2 points.
2 points.
Sully gets 2 points. I got to write these down. Sorry. All right. Here we go. Now for round number 2. It all makes sense, right? Right, Sully? You see how
Absolutely.
You see how easy this can be? All right, statement A. Transformers designed after household pets were considered before the Dinobots were developed. Shockwave actually was designed for another toy line, but Hasbro bought his license and made him a Decepticon. And C, Fortress Maximus was the largest Transformer toy produced in the G1 line. Michael.
I'm going to say A.
A. And it is A. By the way, these are all randomly generated into those spots, so I don't know which one it's going to be. Michael is correct for 2 points.
Good job, Michael.
All right.
Round 3. Statement A. In 1987, an entire die-cast set of Transformers were sold for $1,300 to a Japanese collector. Statement B. GoBots predate Transformers in the U.S. by almost a full year. And C. In 1985, Hasbro actually teamed up to sell a special mail-in version of the G1 Optimus Prime figure. I'm looking back at this. It's got to be Michael.
Yeah, it was Michael.
I didn't put the round number in here, so I think
it was him. It was him.
Michael.
No, I think it's actually John because I answered round 2.
No,
John's was already there.
Yeah, John was already there.
already there. Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a whole minute
Was me.
years than John. So,
Let's see. GoBots predates 6 months ahead of time. I'm gonna say it's A because you didn't have the whole diecast set in 1987 yet.
so you're going with A?
Well, let's see. It's $1,300.
He's really breaking it down.
He's got
He's
How many-
correct.
How many syllables are there?
Well, let's go with we'll do because B is 6 months, not a full year. So we'll go with B.
Go with B. So I'm sorry, it says almost a full year. So that's technically correct.
That would be like 10 or 11 months.
Almost a full year. Yeah, it's technically correct. Sully, you were second. You get to.
That's tough. I think I'm going to go with C because I think the year is too early.
You think that year is too early?
Yeah.
So C is actually technically correct.
Dang it.
I have no idea if some Japanese collector bought a set. I made that up, and I got a
Well
point.
done.
I got a point.
As soon as Andrew said something about the Pepsi truck being in this, I was like, let's scroll up. I had the list of stuff, so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 85. Yeah.
So I guess
if I would have went with my reasoning with the 1987 thing, I would have probably got it right.
yeah, we got that right. So
I talked myself out of it.
John, if you get this next one, we can all tie off with a point because Michael and Sully both lost a point at that one on getting it incorrect. And I got a point. So here's your chance. Here's your chance. Round 4, statement A. Generation 2 toys were anything released after the 1986 Transformers the movie was released. Statement B. All of the toys released during Series 2 featured heat-sensitive rub signs revealing either the Autobot logo or the Decepticon logo. And C, to save production costs in developing separate chassis for multiple toys, many of the G1 Transformers are simply repainted or re-accessorized clones of another one. And Sully?
I'm going to go with B.
You're going to go with B.
But they did away with that during Series 2.
They did. Oh, no. That one's actually, that's the incorrect one. This didn't go out right. So you're right.
Oh,
There's
you had me
actually,
puckered up there for a second.
technically, there's 2 false ones here. Because the first one's also false, but you're right on that one. It's not technically supposed to be Series 2. It was no.
Series.
It is Series 2.
It is Series 2. It's Generation 2. You're thinking Generation 2.
Oh, dang it!
So
Good, so somebody still has a chance to win.
John,
it's A.
you're gonna go with A.
Did we pull the 4-way tie?
I said it was
We
A.
did.
We did.
All right.
No, I only got a point.
Oh,
Wait, but Sully lost a point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me and
that's
Sully
right.
lost a point.
A
Andrew got a
3-way
point.
tie.
Sully lost. So we have a 3-way tie, and guests have no points at this point.
If I'd have gotten the last one on a 50-50 chance and just sat out this round, I'd have dominated. What did I have to go for?
So yeah, that was Series 2 did have the rub off thing. It's Generation 2 that was not on there. So
Good job on the questions. You totally got me.
that's part of it is I try to trick Michael and John up with little things, little changes week to week. So
Makes things up out of thin air sometimes.
some of them I just make stuff up because why
And
not?
they sound good too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's
That's part of it.
information you find that I don't even know where you find your information.
Oh yeah, we don't know where Michael gets half of his information. I think he makes some of it up. So
But this
all right.
this week I had
Yeah, I know. That's
a
why I was
Sure.
wondering.
Yeah.
The same.
a whole book. So
Man, that's cool.
Yeah, I found it's pretty cool. Pretty cool little book.
we're gonna have to look at that on a live, Michael.
Yeah.
Along with all your other ones that you've got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right, with that, we've done our toy truths, we've done our toy rankings, we've done our toy talk, fun for all question, and I think this is about it. We're gonna sign off here pretty quick, but first, wait, Michael,
I got one more thing. Okay, so what is your favorite Transformer out of the whole line?
For me?
Who's your favorite character? Yeah,
Yeah.
all three of you.
Well, as far as like I told the story earlier, as far as the nostalgia and actually remembering collecting as a kid, Megatron. But if I had to choose one to have in my collection over all the others, I'd go with OG Optimus Prime, just because I mean the good guy.
Yeah. John,
Same. OG.
you go with OG Optimus.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that I'm going to answer this just for Michael. So as much as I like Bumblebee, I would have to go with Grimlock. I like just the design of him being a dinosaur. With Jude being a huge dinosaur fan, he loves Grimlock. That's the one. I think he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge Grimlock fan. So yeah, me Grimlock.
Nice.
So the Grimlock. I like all the Autobot. I mean, all the Dinobots with Slag and Sludge and Swoop and there's all of them start with S except for Grimlock. If you look at their names. So yeah, Grimlock's different because he's the leader of the Dinobots. The rest of them are all starts with S on their names. So
Interesting.
He's
but
also
yeah,
a pretty cool toy.
Yeah. I think Grimlock's my favorite. So
all right. With that, Sully, where can people find you? We're very appreciative of you being on with us. I know you're down in Texas. You're rocking that Whataburger background for you there. So yeah, where can people catch you?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. If you guys want to listen to more of me ramble on with a Southern accent, you can check out the Movie Retakes podcast with my brother. I'm over on the West Coast most of the time, and he's on the East Coast. So that's our chance to hang out, talk movies. What makes our podcast different from all the others is we not only break down movies that have a sequel coming out or a prequel or some sort of reboot, we pitch our own ideas for a movie, some sort of reboot or sequel. So we have a lot of fun with the writing perspective and being creative about it. It's not just rehashing information. So check it out if you get a chance. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts. As well, I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as @CSully, right there, just like you see on the screen. On Twitch, I stream 5 days a week. I'm a variety partnered streamer. So I play a lot of different things: Rocket League, Fall Guys, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. I could rattle off Miles Morales. I've just played a bunch of different stuff. So you guys come by, hang out. That is where the Nerds Unite community gets together to hang out. That is a chance to keep things positive, to reinforce each other, to lift each other up, not tear each other down. We really do try to keep it positive there because there are very few places on the internet that are like that these days. So come join in the fun. Even if you don't want to chat, you can just lurk. It's okay by me.
I gotta say, I do that every Monday. When I can't get up in the morning and don't want to, walk the 15 steps to my office to actually work. Monday mornings are the ones that it's the hardest, but I know that around 3:00, I get the alert and I'm like, all right, I gotta open my laptop over here and I'll pull you up and listen to you chat. And I don't even have to pay attention to what's going on in the chat because you're pretty good about talking to everybody and keeping it going. And then I can jump in and just, the good thing, I'm working while I'm lurking. So
yeah, that's a great phrase.
Jump in when I can, and it's great. So
yeah, I've kind of popped in. Like the other day, I popped in. You were playing Miles Morales, trying to string up. You kept doing over and over a certain thing because you kept trying to string up the bad guys.
Oh yeah,
knock them out. I watched that for a little bit before I had to go do something else. But I really
got frustrated with my lack of gameplay. I get it. That's fine.
Yeah, I really love y'all's movie retakes. Yours and Matt's versions of y'all's movies when y'all come up with your ideas. I really love that. So that's it. It's
a lot of fun. And like I said, you guys have this between the three brothers. That's amazing that y'all get to spend that time together. And that's what it's been for my brother and I as well. So it's more than just a podcast.
Yeah. So really for us getting started, when we started, I was in Denver and the two were here in East Texas. So it was a good reason for us to hang out, to talk about something. We did this. We didn't do this. We all sit around when I would come down for Christmas. And the whole family would talk, and that's kind of where it started. It's like, we should do a podcast. Yeah. Although there's no possible way that we could put our family conversation on any podcast ever.
It started off, we needed to record our family conversations.
Yeah. We should never do that.
It might come up in a court case later.
Not if all three of us want to say, yeah, we can't.
Right. Do that. We all enjoy being married. We all enjoy being part of the family. And so we should never do that. But yeah, that's how it kind of started, just being around, listening to you with the Funko Funcast, Nerd Foo, and watching your Twitch stuff. And when you were on Mixer and figuring out how to do things, it's just been awesome. So we decided to get together and talk about toys because we felt that it was something that was kind of missed. There's lots of movie stuff. There's lots of nerd stuff out there, but the old vintage toys, getting the history and so we've really enjoyed doing it. I think we're gonna really enjoy this year. We're gonna grow a lot, and we're gonna keep it going. So we've got a huge long list of toys, and every week you're gonna get another one right into your feeds. So it'll be awesome. Along with us, like you mentioned, the the Nerds Unite group. There's so many podcasts that have come out of all the stuff that you've done or kind of combined with the stuff. You've got Geek Together, Average Nerd, The Four Dorksmen, Three Beers and a Mic, SDS Guys, Nerdy Curious, Nerd Trits, obviously you guys with movie retakes, Totally Rad Movie Podcast, Secondary Heroes. There's so many. And then we were happy you guys did the donations for Extra Life.
Oh, Extra Life. Oh, that was such an amazing thing.
We're hoping that we can really join in next year. We kind of had a bunch of stuff going on. Didn't really get to join in. I know we all donated a little bit, and we were kind of there And it's great. I got stickers. I love the stickers. I got a shirt. And so really happy to be part of that. We're going to jump in, be a bigger part of it next year and help raise some stuff. So it could not be a better community to be part of. And luckily we joined in when we jumped in, like we had that backing of the Nerds Unite community. And so it was like, we went from like literally nothing to like, hey, we've got, a big backing and people pushing us even before we even launched. Yeah. So, it's been a lot of fun and we're so happy about it. So
amazing. You guys are doing great. If you've made it this far, you've overcome all the hurdles that a podcast normally falls into. 23 episodes, you said. That's amazing. So you guys started mid 2020, right in the middle of all this craziness in the world?
Yeah, it was right towards, let's see. I moved in October, so it would have been, August, 1st of August.
Yeah.
We dropped our first one.
That's great. And being consistent like that, doing a weekly episode is good. Keeps people eager for that next one to drop every week. So good job on that.
Yeah. And the one thing I do like about our podcast, it's not something that you have to listen to every week. It's not I've got to keep going. You've got toys that you listened or that you played with and you want to learn more about those and remember them. You pick episode here, you pick an episode there. So, we're going to be around a while. I think we've got the next almost year pretty much lined out. So yeah, beautiful. It's amazing. Lots of fun. I enjoy it. Hopefully these guys enjoy it. When Michael's not putting people to sleep. So yeah,
Michael, you did a wonderful job. Don't listen to him.
That was no. That was a couple weeks ago when we talked about some really boring, McDonald's toys.
McDonald's. We go year to year on McDonald's toys.
Oh my Lord, that's a lot of. You guys have made that one a trilogy.
Well, we only did the first 6 years, and the first 6 years for McDonald's they were not strong years. We'll just say that. So, all right, yeah. What I'm going to do, I'm going to sign off for all of us, for the three of us, and then right before I play our new outro, Sully, if you would, could you give us a big Nerds Unite?
I got you.
I think that combines everything. So, on behalf of Brothers Newland here at the Toy Rewind podcast. Play on. Okay. That's you now.
Wait, I thought you were all going to do one. I'm sorry, I messed it up.
No. Sorry, it's just the one. Yeah. So, throw it in. It's all good.
Nerds Unite.
You've been listening to the Toy Rewind podcast. Follow and join in the conversations at toyrewindpodcast.com.